Okay. Hi, everyone. This is Nora Armani, and this is, I think, the fourth of our 10 Meet the Filmmaker live broadcasts, as we are live. And today's subject, we have groups of films in the short film categories that we label under titles because they seem to be talking about the same type of topic, maybe not necessarily in the same way, because we mix match narrative shorts and documentary shorts, as long as they are talking about the same topic. And a lot of times it becomes a very interesting collection or a medley, because eventually watched together, they all seem to cover different aspects of the same subject. For example, the first of our talks were about Black History Month, and we had 4 films. The talk about that, the Meet the Filmmakers live show, is on our YouTube channel, and you can also access it from our website on the Meet the Filmmakers page. And it was very interesting because each and every one of those films that were dealing with the Black experience were covering a different aspect of the Black experience. So together, they seem to represent a broad coverage of our topic. Today's topic is disability. And we have very different aspects and very different films on the topic, and we are going to be talking about that. But we have also included a couple of films that are in the family and home section of the groupings of the shorts. And these films screen at Cinema Village starting on the 13th of March. We are in Cinema Village 13th, 14th, and 15th of March. But that's not when the festival starts. The festival officially opens with the big opening night and the celebration, red carpet and everything, on March 11 at the Lenfest Center for the Arts. And we have a preview opening on the 10th at MRHS, during which we will screen films about mental health. So let's come back to today's selection of filmmakers, and I will bring them on shortly. They will tell you about their films themselves. So there we have it. We have our wonderful filmmakers, and let's do this because it's easier. What happened to Hemsi? I can't see you. Oh, there you are. Okay. All right. So we'll take quick turn and everybody will introduce themselves, like really briefly, just to say their names and the title of the film and what it is about, because we will come back later and go more in depth into the film and understand more about it, how it came about, and all those details. So let's go to Joanna first.
Hello. Can you see me, hear me? I seem to have a frozen picture here.
Everything's fine. Yeah.
All right. I'm Joanna Tachmintzis from Greece. I'm screening a documentary called Between Life and Death. It's really a human story with a social message. It deals with Kiki Tsakiri, is a woman paralyzed for a very long time, 23 years with ALS in a Greek village on a Greek island. And it's really about her struggle for life, but also the 2 issues that she fought most for. That is a life in dignity for people who are long-term sick and paralyzed, and the possibility of a death in dignity for those people when they can no longer deal with and handle life and what it means for them. So that's really, in summary, what it's about, and I look forward to saying more about it later.
Yes, great. How about Gail? Oh, you are muted, Gail. Make sure you're.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
I'm speaking from Sonoma, Northern California. My film is Street Muse, and I will share details on the next round.
Okay, that's cool. And how about Aida?
Hi, I'm Aida. I'm the writer and director of the film Behind the Glass. It is a story about leaving toxicity really in family patterns that are toxic within a marriage. And it's really about what's perceived from the outside and what's really going on within a family, within the four walls of a home.
Okay, and we have Victor.
Hello, my name is Victor Ilyukin. I'm the director of the film of the short documentary Pathfinder, and it's a story of people who live in Pathfinder village in New Jersey. And it's a village where people with Down syndrome live, but also they start to deal with first symptoms of dementia, which is very common for Down syndrome population. And the film is about two protagonists who live there.
Great. And Andre. So as you see, there is a line that's following from Joanna. Please, everybody, shut your mics when you're not speaking, because it's picking up reverb. Yes. Thank you.
Ready? Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Excellent. Okay. My name is Andre Fuad, Degas, and I am an Egyptian-American filmmaker. And my film is called Sisterhood. It is in the state of Florida, where diversity and inclusion is very questionable these days. A group of older women who they're called the Calendar Girls. They're a throwback to the Calendar Girls of the 40s. They do a lot of performances for senior citizens and so on, but traditionally they're an all-white group. And the last couple of years, they hired and they included the first Calendar Girl, an African-American woman by the name of DC, and she has come forefront, and she is the subject of the documentary. It's also a protagonist in this is the oldest woman, an 80-year-old woman who performs very cardio, just models like health and wellness in this group called Sisterhoods. And that's it. That's my film.
All right. And last but not least, we have Hemsi.
Yes, hello. I'm Galaad Hemsi. I'm the co-director of No Filter Café with Coralie van Renschoten. We are French, and the documentary is about following a young group of adults with severe autism learning to run a cafe in the center of Paris.
Yeah. Okay, that's so cool. So you see, there is quite a diversity of topics. There is a one line that actually goes through the disability line with the films Between Life and Death and Pathfinder, Behind the Glass, No Filter Cafe. However, Street Muse is about home and homelessness in this case. And Sisterhood is also about a kind of home or a community that becomes home. So my first question to you, to everyone here, and then we don't have to go in line in an order this time round. Everybody, whoever wants to jump in can jump in. And it's about, how did the idea of this film come about to you? Why did you think this was an important topic to talk about? And why now? And you can answer the question as you wish. And
may I start, because I truncated my introduction. I'm the writer, director, and a writer, producer, creator. I'm the artistic director of Opera Frontier. And this film is what we call an opera social commentary film. And it's about two homeless women on the street having a conversation about what it feels like now to be on the street. And they are joined by a sleeping drunk in a shared conversation and a moment of intimacy which is shared through the soaring lines of the Puccini aria that we repurposed in order to, for this film. And the origin of this film is very clear. Opera Frontier, everything it does is based on a piece of music from the opera repertoire, almost always something very familiar. And but it's repurposed by putting it in a different context and usually writing completely different lyrics. So Street Muse is based on Musetta's aria, a very well-known, beloved thing. And it's the character is very flirty, and she's saying to being very public to this group, including a former lover that she's sort of showing off for. And she says, well, when I walk down the street, her lyrics are, when I walk down the street, I can feel people's eyes admiring my beauty from head to toe. And this piece came to me from the fact that I was looking at some women on the street street women saying, I wonder what it feels like for them to be seen on the street. They certainly don't feel like Musetta, happy to be admired. So that was the origin of this piece. And they start by saying, here on the street, we feel we get pity or abuse, and we know we'll be filthy from head to toe most days. So.
Yeah, it's a very interesting subject, and you've taken, I mean, in 5 minutes, you're allowing us to see that aspect of home and homelessness and opera and art and how the two can merge and all of that. Yes, who's next?
Well, I can say, if it's okay. For me, it's simple. I'm a father of Balthazar, who is in the introduction of the documentary. He's 12 years old. He's with severe autism, and I was confronted. Je sais pas comment tu dis. A lot of people said that Balthazar can't do that or can't do that, and every time people said that to me, I did what they said he can't do, and he do it right. So with what's important for me, it's about employability and and inclusive, to be in an inclusive society. And when Laurence, who is going to come with me at the festival, the director of the IME, told me about the project of the cafe with these young adults, I was really, for me, it was exactly the good topic, because the parents of the young adults didn't think that it was possible that these young adults could run a cafe and serve people and make food for them and things like that. So and cook. So so yes, for me it was a good topic to look if it was possible or not.
That's very interesting subject you are bringing up, because we had a film a few years ago, which was actually the winning script of our first year festival. And it was called Poppy, about a young girl with Down syndrome. And this filmmaker, she won Best Script that first year. And then 7 years later, she came back to the festival a few years ago with the finished film.
Wow, cool.
And it was a beautiful film, and it ended up winning Best Narrative Feature in the festival. And the whole premise of it was that Poppy wants to live and be like everyone else. Her brother runs a mechanic store, a car mechanic, and he keeps telling her, oh, no, you can't drive. Oh, you can't do this. You can't do that. And it's like suddenly you start asking yourself the question, who decides the disability of the disabled person? And where do you draw the line? What if the person thinks they can do something, they should be able to do it. and it's not for us to say you cannot do it. So
Yes, exactly. It's
yeah.
exactly what I think about my son and about all people. You know, I think the only limit is the limit that society imposed to us and to them.
Exactly. And it's also disability. It's kind of a strange nomenclature, because it means like you're less than able, disable, but it should be differability.
Exactly.
Right?
Yes. For me, it's not disability. For me, it's another way to see things. You know, it's not. You know, it's not. Every people are different in our society,
Yes.
and it's
Yes.
another kind of intelligence. Yes, I
Yes,
think.
absolutely. We need to change that term and make it different, not different.
Exactly.
So, and
Can I come in
yes,
now? Because actually it links very well with what I want to say with the film. Because in fact, what I wanted to show about Kiki and what she shows in the film is, even though she's the ultimate in disability, totally paralyzed and on a life support machine, and the only thing that works are her eyes, with which she communicates on a screen, she actually tries to run a normal home, raises 3 children, campaigns to raise the funds to look after her, to have a 24/7 intensive care unit in her house, for which nobody pays, but she has to find the money. And, that's because she wants to live in dignity. And this is really, she's an amazing woman. And I agree with the previous director that, the limit is really, is a society. And inside us, I think these people show us that there is an incredible amount of resources and willpower inside us that we can mobilize. And it's really very humbling lesson to all of us of what we can achieve with having everything going for us, and with people who have such an obstacle in life, what they can do. So my inspiration was, I know Kiki. She was a friend from before she was sick, and it wasn't immediately going to make a film about her. The idea started that she wanted a little video to do some fundraising with. So I did some filming at the time. I had no idea I was going to make a documentary. It turned out then COVID came. We never made the video. And then much later on, I decided to make the film, which was a real challenge, because I filmed. I'm thinking afterwards, as a filmmaker, I could have filmed things that I didn't film, but I really wanted to put a voice to the people that she represented, and that she, by the way, she had lost her voice. Her first sign of disability was no voice, so she could not speak. And she was totally paralyzed without a voice, and yet did miraculous things from her paralyzed bed, as you will see if you see the film, or a little glimpse of it. It's not biographical. It's just some moments in her life, and really showing what her daily life was and what she struggled for. And as I said before, her big concern was how people like him. She was privileged enough to be dynamic, educated, and had some friends and family that helped. And she was also very able to do fundraising. But there are many people in Greece in her situation that can't, and then life is very difficult and very short for them. She managed to beat all odds and live with ALS for 23 years, 16 years of which were totally paralyzed on a life support machine. And this is really in an isolated village, 1 hour from the nearest hospital, and with an intensive care unit in her house. But anyway, so for me, the inspiration was this amazing willpower and courage and ability to do things that are really amazing. And also, she didn't sort of winch at making a campaign out of something that is not at all popular in Greece. She wanted also people like her to be able to die. And euthanasia is something totally not discussed in Greece. It's a total taboo issue, whether it's legal circles or society at whole, and so on. And as one of the doctors says in the film, it's something doctors between them talk about a lot, but nobody talks about openly, and it's really not allowed even at any level. So this is something that she campaigned for. Of course, she didn't get very far, but I hope this also raises an issue. And why did I make the film? Because I wanted to, as I said, to highlight the issues that she struggled for and fought for and campaigned for, but also she's really a living example. It's a human story. It's not a didactic film. It's a human story, and through her, we hear about these issues, and we see how she lived and what she tried to do. And in fact, the main narrator, it was a challenge how to make the film and what to do. And in the end, I decided that the main the main person, the sort of spine of the film, the core of the film would be her daughter. So it's the daughter speaking about her mother, and other people speak about her, and she speaks about herself through her machine. I mean, she had no voice, and it was also a challenge because in these films, you want to give a voice to the person themselves, but how to give a voice to a person who doesn't have a voice. And but anyway, I tried my best. And
very, very interesting, because now that you are telling the stories, I am going back in my mind and I'm remembering all the films we have screened that were about disability. We had a disability film last year about a paraplegic woman who had an accident as a young woman by diving into a pool and hitting her head and becoming completely paraplegic at the age of 23. But then she has a complete full life. She ends up having 2 daughters and a loving husband and so on. And you see that the urge to live and the power to go beyond these limitations that are created or they are born with, it's so inspiring. We also had another film, which is kind of a different type of disability. It's not quite a disability, but it can be considered a speech impediment about a person with stuttering. And a long time throughout his childhood, he wouldn't speak because he was worried how he can say something. And now this person, whose name is Jose Piranyan, is a keynote speaker, and he goes and does a lot of different keynotes in important big companies. And they made a documentary about him and his journey, which was in our festival last year. And he will make an appearance this year at our festival because he wrote a book which is called Don't Hold Back, or something like that, I think. The film was called Words Left Unspoken because of his stutter. And now the book, and we will be able to offer the book as to the winning filmmakers as part of their prize. So it's amazing, all these stories, incredible stories. And we've had the Down syndrome, we've had autism, we had a Chinese child who was an autistic child, and his mother, a beautiful Chinese film. And this young boy ended up getting Best Actor and the mother Best Actress because they were amazing. It was a narrative feature, but it was amazingly acted. So I'm so thrilled because every time we speak about this, I remember all the films we've screened so far, and not to vent, but just humbly to say that it has been an incredible learning experience for me. When you watch all these amazing films over 13 years now, and we have screened about 800 films from 40 countries, you cannot imagine the amount of education. Like I have a PhD maybe in all these topics by now. If I put them all together in a book, I would be able to earn a PhD probably. It's just unbelievable what these filmmakers have taught us. So I thank you so much. Humbly thank you all. So who's next? Andre.
Yes, I am gonna give you that PhD, Nora, myself. No, for real, because honestly, I have seen the films. It's like your festival talks back to the filmmakers, and with the stories that you showed with Poppy, I remember all that, because I've been in this festival more than once, and it's just really an honor to just hear Gail and Joanna and Hemsi. So I just wanted to say honestly that the film Sisterhood chose me. I didn't choose it. I just want to tell you this like right up front. I don't usually approach a story from approach a film from from a mission, like I'm going to do something about autism or racism or something like that. It's more about people and the story itself. And I found the story of the calendar girls. So where does that word come from? The calendar. So in the 40s there was this posing ladies in World War II in January, February, March, whatever, in sexy costumes. So these ladies are now, it's about the calendar years passing, because all the women in this group is over 65. So it's kind of like about ageism, and it's about how these women model health and well-being. And instead of just like sitting home and eating bonbons and watching TV, they're like doing stuff for the community. They're giving back. They're performing in farmers market. And when you see them perform for like an hour and a half outside in the heat in a community event, or about seeing eye dogs, it's mind-boggling. And they're wearing the same costumes that these other ladies wore in the 40s, these sexy costumes, and they look great in them. I see, that's what pulled me to the story. I'm a very visual person. I like that. And then I started delving into the story, and of course, Charlotte came. She's 84 years old, and she's a member of this group. I mean, imagine this 84-year-old woman like kicking it out for like an hour in the heat, and dancing. And then TC Hannah, the African American lady, and then hearing her story. So I whittled it down, and I said, okay, these are my subjects. That's what I'm interested in. Of course, I'm married to an African American woman. I come from a North African country, and these are, I know what not being included is like. So I was like, okay, I can talk about this. And what a better place to bring it than to this festival. I've been in this festival several times before, and and Laura has said yes to me sometimes, and sometimes she says, oh, I'll pass. And I love it. I just, it's like, if she fits me in, if it works for her. And I love just being in the company of such great filmmakers, and I'm looking forward to actually seeing all these films. It's just I'm totally interested. That's all I got. Thanks.
Yeah,
Laura.
that's a good point that you brought up, Andre. It's a very good opportunity for all the filmmakers to see each other's works. Yeah.
That's what it's all about, really.
Okay, who's next? Who wants to?
I can go in and jump in on the theme that you guys have spoken about with the disabilities and all the stories that have been shared through the festival over the past few years. And I feel like it's really the fire of the human spirit. We see it whether someone's going through a disability, or we see it kick in whenever really there's something that tries to constrain a person. And I feel like it's also something that's a theme in this story that we displayed in the film, Behind the Glass, because it's a woman going through toxicity within her marriage, and it's really that fire that's really inside her that made her want to fight back, that made her want to get out of a very terrible situation. And it resonates a lot with anyone that you mentioned, like all those beautiful stories of the people that we strip them down, or we take something from them, whether it's a voice, whether it's an ability that we usually have. And that's where that fire kicks in, and that will to, do more or live even more passionately than when that disability kicked in, or where that challenge kicked in. And I think it's one of the beauty of human nature, whether it's, I don't know if it's really self-preservation, but I feel like there's such a beauty in the fight back, the overcoming, in the I won't take this, and I will just take something that's happening to me and turn it into something beautiful. And in that story, really, the way it chose me too, is it's based on a true story. The person who actually went through this actually acted in the film, not as the main character, but it was based off of her life, and she really decided to make a huge change in her life, despite her culture, despite her family, despite the pressure. It's really that fire within that got her to move, and say no more. And I felt like that was such a beautiful message, and I definitely wanted to be a part of it, and wanted to bring it to life a little bit more.
Yeah, it's very interesting because as you were saying this, and we're talking about disability, ability, or who decides and who draws the line and so on, it's all about limitations and breaking out of those limitations. And hopefully this festival, and also José's book, which is don't hold back, or not to an artist, for creative people, it's very, very important for us to be able to get out of the box and break out the limits and limitations that are put around us. You can do this, you can't do this, or this thing is funded, that thing is not funded. That's another way of censorship, what gets funded and what doesn't get funded. And so in the middle of all this, to find our way and to tell our stories, the stories that are burning a hole inside us, that want to get out and get to be told. And this is what this community is all about. So hopefully we make our little contribution and provide that platform where the films that you make with so much toil and trouble and energy and your last pennies put into it, at least they can meet their audiences. So who is left? We have Victor.
Yes, and I'm also coming back to the festival because I think first time was in 2014 or 15. So like I'm very grateful for this platform and for being selected again. And the film, we've been over the years in collaboration with a nonprofit, Positive Exposure, and one of the board members there, Dr. Keller. He specializes on dementia and different types of dementia, from Alzheimer's and Parkinson's disease, and his mother was also dealing with it. So he told us about this Pathfinder village, and it's really interesting because people with Down syndrome, they live there as a residence. But their family and them already done so much in life. They played sports, they've been models, they already proved themselves to live fulfilling and rewarding lives. But unfortunately, despite all of that, they are at very high risk at starting almost 40 years old of getting dementia. And this all starts fading away. And I think it's, for me and for our team, it's like a universal subject. It's what's left when your memory starts to fade away. And for example, Frank, who lives there, he had several music instruments that he played when he was younger, and also his mother played to him, and he remembers this music, and he still tries to play, and his sisters come to visit him, yes, and so it's a sad story in a way, because the parents and relatives come to visit their children who start to fade away with dementia, but also it's a beautiful journey of saying goodbye and enjoying these moments that they remember together, and playful moments, singing and music. I found just a lot of heartwarming experience for me filming with these families who really just celebrate each other in this place. So it's a documentary, and come and see it.
Yeah. Let me just take this moment. I think Hemsi is trying to figure out something. So while he does that, I'll tell you a little bit about the film festival. So why did I create this festival? This festival was born in 2013, 13, yes, we are 2026. So that's the 13th edition of the festival, as a reaction in me to the proliferation of violence and violent forms of storytelling, of filmmaking. What I mean by violent forms of storytelling is films that have a lot of gratuitous violence, films that deal with a lot of explosions and special effects that don't make our lives any better than they are. They give us a headache coming out of the cinema instead of improving on our lives or ourselves or our persons. And I felt too much money is being spent on this type of film, under the belief that maybe because if there are violent scenes, people will come to the cinema, it will sell. But whatever the reasoning behind it is that the people make this type of movies, it was bothering me. And I felt, okay, if I don't like violent films, I just don't go to see them. That would be my position. However, a lot of times you are not at a, how should I mean, they're all over the place. Like you're standing minding your business at a bus stop, and suddenly there is this huge billboard with a person with a Kalashnikov on it, somebody running away, some scared characters, some daggers with blood, and so on. And I'm like, why is this violence invading my visual space? So in terms of that, I decided that, okay, maybe it's time we need to offer an alternative form of entertainment. And out there, there are so many beautiful human interest stories, whether it's about disability, illnesses, family situations, or women, race, you name it. The world is environment, the environment we live in, climate change, and everything that is around us that can have a social impact on our lives can be considered a socially relevant film. So, and because I come from a sociology background, I didn't want to limit it to violence and violent films or non-violent films, because then we would become what? A spiritual film festival. So instead, I opened it up to include all sorts of social issues. In the middle of this, there was a personal experience as well, because as you can see, all of the films are made because of a personal experience. Like it's triggered, the personal lived experience triggers to make the film. So in that sense, I personally lived a violent crime that was a hate crime against my cousin and my uncle. And as the 10th anniversary approached, I wanted to do something meaningful to commemorate them. And the festival idea was born. So there we go. This is how it all started. And the festival, as I said, opens on March 11 with our big red carpet opening. And the filmmakers are introduced after we make the opening speech and thank all our sponsors and everybody who contributed to the festival being a success. And we invite the filmmakers so that they can come on stage, take a group picture, and introduce themselves to each other and to the audience. Then we have a feature film called The Last Wish, which is a Finnish-Spanish co-production by Finnish film director Rax Rinikangas. And it is kind of important to mention that because Rax's previous films, one of his previous films, was in the festival in 2022. And this project was came about from him being there, and I humbly play one of the leads in that film. So this is an opportunity for me to also tell people to come to the opening night, because after organizing all this, I get to be the actor on that one evening. So besides the opening night, we have the next day on the 12th, a beautiful event with the filmmakers where we get to know each other. It's a networking event at the Festival Hub uptown, Dear Mama. And then 13th, 14th, 15th is the core of the festival, where we go to Cinema Village and we screen the films back to back, the shorts, the documentaries, narrative features. All of this is crowned on the 15th in the evening with the award ceremony of the festival, and the winners are announced. However, I always say, and I will repeat on this occasion, completing a film is in itself winning an award. I am sure the filmmakers that are here with me will agree that when you finish your film with all the difficulties, the lack of funding, the problems that you run into and everything, you feel like you are a winner already. And then out of that, to be selected for the festival, that's the second time you're a winner. And then after that, being appreciated by the audience with the wonderful Q&As that we run each time, third time winner. And on top of it, if somebody gives you a prize, not me, but the international jury that we put together to judge the films, then what more can you ask for? So my wish is that every filmmaker would live all these moments and be able to use the film medium to make a statement. What are we without our voices? To give voices to voiceless people, but also to voice about justice, about truth, and about social problems. And I salute all the filmmakers and actors who are taking a position against what happened recently at the Berlin Film Festival. I was going to be in Berlin, but something else happened and I had to change my plans. And now in retrospect, I'm thinking I'm glad I didn't go, because it was going to be quite a horrendous experience. Anyway, film is political, is social, has to have a voice, has to have a position. We have to be able to say what we think and make a difference in the society around us. There we go. I'm done with my introduction. So anybody wants to say more about the film? Why did they make it? What happened? And so on. I think we didn't hear enough from, or did we hear enough from everyone? Did we have the round? Did everybody get a chance to? Because my next question is about, how did you come to the Socially Relevant Film Festival? How did you find out about us?
Can I say, let me jump in and
Yes.
say how humble, I mean, how astonishing it is for me to be in the midst and included in this group of people who are such accomplished filmmakers, because I am the serious rookie here. I hired a director for this film. It's the third thing that I could possibly call a film. I'm primarily coming from stage. And that was I only started doing that in my 40s and started singing seriously in my 40s and late, into my 50s. So it's really astonishing for me to be to be included in this group. All I can say is that I put my faith in the gorgeous music that has been time tested. So the music is the container, and I just trusted that I could help tell a totally different story with this beautiful aria. And the people and it's really a sung conversation between these people who understand how completely invisible they are. They sit on the street and people look away and don't want to see them. And they make a little tiny community together there, saying, we can hold hands, we can share, and we can see each other. And And I feel I have been most gratified by having shown it to people who are at homeless shelters, at places where they're having, soup kitchens where they can go in and find something to eat. And I've shown it there, and I've been very gratified to see the way it has touched them. They say, thank you for making this film. Thank you for reminding people that we are human beings here. So I'm just really appreciate this acknowledgement that by being included in the Socially Relevant Film Festival. And as soon as I saw the title at the festival, I said, well,
it's quite a mouthful of a title, but I think it describes what it's about.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you. But
I was saying it's quite a mouthful of a title, but it describes what it is all about. So
yes, street views.
The other thing is I wanted to add, jump in. Thanks, Gail, for that. Is that a lot of times, if you've done the festival circuit, a lot of times these festivals, especially for short docs, I'm not talking about like long features and stuff like that, is they do it online. Online is good in everything, but Socially Relevant Film Festival gives you the community thing where you actually feel the warmth of the audience, and you can go outside in the lobby and talk about the old school type of thing, and I love that. I think that's in conjunction with online, not to be, excluding anything. It's all good, it's just a different opportunity, and it's a different vibe, and so kudos for that.
Yeah, absolutely. At the beginning, when we were, pre-COVID, I should say, because COVID came and messed up with our lives. But pre-COVID, the film festivals that were in person, we used to look down upon to the festivals that were only online. And then when COVID hit, all of us had to go online. We had 2 years where we were exclusively online, 2020 and 2021. However, we realized that online has its merits too, because it reaches audiences way beyond where you are located. And we were able to interview all the filmmakers instead of only the ones who came to New York, and so on and so forth. So when we came back in 2022, we decided to make it a hybrid festival. So it takes a lot of energy and time and money, of course, to organize the in-person section. But I really think it's very, very important. Even if it's down to 2 days, 3 days, or whatever, it's so important, because what is otherwise? Well, unfortunately, there are so many festivals out there. I don't mean to knock down anybody, but there are some festivals that don't even screen. And I'm like, what is the idea? What kind of festival is this?
It's a scam. Sorry. It's not good for us. It's not good for the audience, and it's not good for all other festivals, because for me, sometimes I'm like, I get all these like promo codes to be here, and it's like, who are you, and why would I want to be there, and why would I want to be with you? But I want to be with somewhere where there's a theme and there's a target audience, and there's sort of like like a journey, like there's a backstory. In other words, the Socially Relevant Film Festival has been around for a long time, and and so on and so forth. And I also, that's it. That's all I got.
Nora, if I can come back to your question.
Yes,
actually, I met you, won't remember, but I met you after your very first festival, and you in a big festival in Europe, and you were promoting the Socially Relevant Film Festival, and I thought, what a great name, what a great idea. And you gave me a small postcard that advertised it, and I still have it, and I still kept it. So when I made this film, I decided this was a festival I wanted to go to, and I'm very grateful that you chose it, because I think it's really great, and that you've kept it going, and that your vision and dream went on. I just wanted to add something about the other films and what I heard today. By the way, I feel very privileged, like Gail, to be here with everybody and listening to all these amazing stories. And they really are stories, because I think one common thing is, whether they're fiction or documentaries, that there's a story, there's a really moving, touching, incredible human story behind. And I think also the thread of all these stories is that all these people, despite their difficult situations, they're all amazing. It's a very positive, for me, a very positive message that they try very hard, and we as filmmakers try to project that they try so hard to overcome those difficulties and live a full life, like all of us want to live as full a life as possible, whatever the moment. And I think one of the things that I wanted to avoid in my film is I didn't want anybody to feel pity for the person I was filming, and the story of Kiki, and she never felt pity for herself, and I never felt pity for her. I always only felt admiration for her. Every time I saw her, I admired her, and she was admirable. And I'm sure all the people that you have all filmed, you all convinced us filmmakers from what you say that they're all very admirable people. And so I think this is really important, because we as a society, we tend to marginalize and sort of look down upon all the kinds of people that we are portraying in all these films. And I'm sorry I won't be in New York to see a lot more of your wonderful films, but I'm going to see them online, I hope.
Yeah,
and,
it's sad because I don't know if you wanted to tell people about it, but things happen. We were talking about it before we went on air, and she had a little accident, Joanna, and sprained.
Yes, I'm confined to a wheelchair myself, actually.
Yeah.
I was thinking to myself today that for the first time, although it's temporary, and I had an operation on one leg, and I have to stop it from touching the ground for about 6-7 weeks. So I'm in a wheelchair. It recently happened, so I can't come to New York. But I'm actually, for once, although I'm only partially disabled, I know it's temporary and it's a whole different setup. I actually am putting myself a little bit in the shoes of a disabled person, how you have very little access to anything, especially in Greece. They're very bad at thinking, unfortunately, about access and accessibility, and about all the little daily tasks that we take for granted, and yet they're so complicated. Anyway, this condition stops me from coming to New York, but I shall be with you in spirit and admiring all your wonderful films.
Yeah, thank you. And you can catch them online.
Yes, I will.
That's another thing I wanted to mention. After the 15th, when we do our awards ceremony, as soon as that is finished, as of the 16th, almost all the films, I'm saying almost all, because some films, they cannot go online as of yet. They're still doing the festival circuits, and some of the festivals insist, the A festivals insist that it should be a world premiere or something like that, or a premiere or whatever. We have premiere status insistence as well, but they don't have the license or whatever, for whatever reason, they cannot screen online. But the majority of the films will be available to the audience who is not New York based and who wants to see the festival's selection. Okay, my last question, we have a few minutes, and whoever wants, they can jump in. What is your next project? And if you don't want to talk about it or go into details or jinxed it or whatever, you are free not to say, or talk about what you had for breakfast today instead.
I'd love to talk about this if it's possible.
Yeah.
I'm currently working on a project called Amazigh, it's the Berber, it's the native population in Morocco, which is where I'm originally from. And there's such a huge culture and history, and it's very rich. And I cannot wait to shoot that project. And it's something that's going to be shot between Morocco and New York as well. So I think it's going to be a beautiful and visual story about someone who's from an Amazigh background, which Amazigh means the free man. And it's something I cannot wait to share, because I feel like not only will it shed some light, like put a spotlight on the culture, even from the Moroccans, even Moroccan people, a lot of them do not know the Amazigh culture, but also internationally. And I'm so excited and thrilled about working on this. And I know it's going to take me a while to get it right, just in terms of script and in terms of production. But I will definitely share it with you all as soon as it's completed.
That's really good to know, which means we can welcome you back
Yes.
next year.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah, we love working with alumni filmmakers because we get to know their work, we get to see the development, we get to see what they did, and then how now what they have brought to us next, and so on. I'm not saying we privilege them, just because, right, that as Andre pointed out, sometimes it doesn't fit. And maybe this is a moment I should take in case there are filmmakers watching or will be watching eventually once the clip is on the YouTube channel, is that a lot of times when we send out the letter of what is selected and obviously what isn't selected, a few filmmakers write back and say, but my film is so socially relevant. How come you didn't select it? And it's not like about, oh my goodness, I wish we could select every socially relevant film that is presented to us. Unfortunately, we only have 1 week, we have limited number of slots, and we have to draw the line somewhere. And often we don't draw the line because the film is bad. The drawing of the line a lot of times happens because of editorial reasons. Like I was saying, we group the films together under themes so that there is a certain method to this madness. So there is something, you get out something out of it. It's not like a mismatched mix and match or something from here, something from there, you know. So therefore, if it's not selected, it doesn't mean that it's bad. It doesn't mean we hated it. It doesn't mean it's not socially relevant. It could be any other reason for that. So,
can I talk about my next? Because
yes.
I realize I'm talking to the right people. My next, okay, so because I think Street Muse is the only, this is the only of the ones we're talking of those of us who are having this conversation. I think Street Muse is the only narrative. It's not a documentary, but I need a documentarist for my next project. I am working with Circus Abyssinia to do an opera circus social commentary program. We're developing what will be put on the circus stage. Circus Abyssinia, my collaborator, travels to venues in the United States for children theaters, and Degas does arts festivals throughout the US. And we are putting together a show, I think it would be, I am seeking to figure out how to help a documentarist make a story, make a film about the making of this circus piece, because combining first off, circus is visually so interesting. These are brilliant. These are Ethiopian circus artists who've, who are, incredible, beautiful artists. But we're combining circus and opera, or actually circus and Western classical music with Ethiopian music as, merged in. But the story that we're choosing is one has a very political possibilities, because we're setting it in the visit between, maybe I shouldn't say too many details about what.
No, don't give away.
Don't give it away. But
also, out of experience, when you speak too much about it and
Yes.
you give all these details,
Yes.
you feel like you get it out of your system and you
Yes.
don't do it anymore.
Well, the train has left the station, and the opportunity for the statement. The reason it would be interesting to a documentarist is because what was happening on the stage in the circus, the arc of the story that will be told during the circus, raises questions about what is good leadership, and it allows the possibility for looking at good leadership in Ethiopia.
Selection of documentary filmmakers in the festival.
That's it.
You
will-
just watch their work and see who you want to connect with and just offer them the opportunity, and they might want to collaborate.
I can totally see that that's the reason to go to this film festival. Thank you. Thank you.
And it's already 7:00 here. I mean, I'm sorry, 1:00. And we need to wrap it up, but I will allow a couple more minutes. Usually we allow a couple of minutes so that if you want to say something last minute, Joanna or Aida.
Oh yeah, I will just say something very short about my next film, hopefully. I am an environmental scientist. I had a career in that before becoming a filmmaker. I became a filmmaker and producer and director much later in life. So my next film is going to be an environmental film, and it has to do with always around the story, which I'm trying to figure out yet. But my interest is really, I mean, we all know about climate change, but more specifically what climate change is having on the oceans and the seas. And you know that this is the new decade of the oceans, and the concern, the focus on what all this damage we have done to the planet is actually going to be in relation to the sea and the oceans, and what happens to the communities around them. So this is a little bit my idea, and I hope to be able to complete it, and I hope to be able to bring it to the festival.
I will put you in touch with Elena Mionis, I think I'm saying it right, who was in our film festival 2 years ago. And she brought actually last year, I think she was, and 2 years ago. Yeah. And a short film, a documentary about environment. And it was a performance piece that she herself was doing with objects that she had found on the beach in an island in Greece, in the island where she lives, actually, like a piece of plastic bottle, a piece of rope, or whatever, things that are washed to the beach from the sea that are causing all these horrible effects to the sea on this climate. And with those, she made a performance piece. So it could be an interesting combination for you, at least to get to know her work.
Of course, I will be very interested to have information about any other filmmakers, and I'll be, when the festival is over and you have time and you have a moment to think, I'll be happy to receive that. Anyway, I'm very happy to have met the other filmmakers online today, and I wish you all great success in the festival.
Thank you. And anybody last minute thoughts, something burning that you want to say?
I just want to say I'm really happy to see a lot more women taking part in making movies. I was recently in a festival where the movie was nominated for Best Director, and it was like they put a panel of all the directors on the screen, and it was out of the 10 directors, I was the only woman. And I was telling my husband, I don't like this picture. I do not like to see that. And I'm really overjoyed.
This is the reverse here.
Yeah.
March 8th, this is a good opportunity to talk about it. Besides the Meet the Filmmaker sessions that we have, usually they were on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays, but we had some mix-up in the beginning because of the mistake I made and put the wrong date. And I'm trying to make up for that. And then some personal travel issues mixed up the calendar. So we're going to go out of that ordinary Tuesday, Friday, Thursday, Saturday pattern. But we're going to try and fit everyone in. However, on March 8th, we have a webinar at 1:00. These are at 12 o'clock. The webinar is at 1:00 New York time, and it's with all the women filmmakers who are part of the festival. We do this every year, and we have a screen full of all the women, and I love that because we take so much pride. And every year it comes out to at least 50-50. And we don't go out of our way trying to find women filmmaker films that bring them to the, no, we just go for the better films, the best films. And in the end, when you look at the names and the division of who's who, it ends up there equal. Whereas in reality, unfortunately, it's not that picture. So we are 5 minutes over the time. Thank you all so much for being here. And thank you, whoever has been watching and following us. And as I mentioned, the clip is going to be on our YouTube channel. You can pick it up from there and ask questions if you have to. Okay. Thank you. Bye. All the best. See you all in person. Some of you in person. Bye.